Live. What's going on, guys? We got a lot to cover today. Welcome in, welcome back. Let everybody start filing in. So, a lot of this is really sensitive information, so I've been deleting these live streams because I really don't want to get, sorry, fashionably late. Sorry about that. But a lot of this stuff is really sensitive information, so I've been deleting these live streams because I've heard of people talking about this and getting cease and desist orders. Because you can talk good about all this, but as soon as you start talking bad, it's a whole other different story. So first, before we even begin, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm no financial advisor, so do not take any advice from me financially. Do not buy or sell anything based on what I'm saying. So, oh, GLP, right on. GLP, hey, GLP in the house. So, this is something that nobody's talking about. Banking regulations that are happening inside of the financial industry that nobody is talking about. Major global financial changes that are going to change the complete geopolitical landscape from here on out. And this is starting November 15th of this year for the EU, and then they're rolling it out third quarter for the rest of the year. Allegedly, these regulations that are happening are ISO 20022. Now, these are global banking standards on how people transfer money. Right now, money gets transferred through SWIFT. Okay, now this is all going to kind of bleed into what's going on, but I'm just going to explain a little bit as to what's going on, and then it'll start to all kind of make sense. And I've been doing live streams on this. I'm gonna beat it down until everybody kind of gets the full picture. So since I have to delete them, I kind of have to go over everything. So these global standards that are going on right now, ISO 20022, are global standards for how the world sends money. Okay, and SWIFT right now sends $68 billion a year financially from bank-to-bank transactions, and it's $1.7 quadrillion a year they send. Now they're changing the standards, so now it's not going to take 2 to 3 days anymore. It's not going to take 3 to 5 days anymore, based around the dollar. Right now, the dollar. Right now, the dollar is an intermediary between different currencies. There's sanctions, and there's the petrodollar that the whole entire world has to trade around. And right now they're changing it around these standards, which are going to be utility tokens, a tracked and traced digital post-utopian new world order that they're trying to put through. Now, these utility tokens, these certifications, everybody from here on out, starting November 15th in the European Union, and then God knows when this is going to be rolling out in America, is going to have to be ISO certified in order to change money around the world. Okay? Who is ISO certified? SWIFT got ISO certified, but these 6 utility tokens are going to be taking over the entire global financial system. Okay, they are ISO certified. Currently, they are the only people that are legal to transfer money other than SWIFT. Now, this is a very, very big deal because of sanctions and because of the reason why is that these ledgers, okay, these 6 people that are certified are the only people that could transfer money. This is the XLP ledger. These are hybrid crypto ledgers, okay, that is going to be replacing the dollar. There's 6 ledgers altogether, okay. There's the XLP ledger, which is Ripple. There's the XLM ledger, which is Stellar. There's the XDC ledger, which is Zinfin. There's the IOTA ledger. There's the Algorand ledger, and there's the HBAR ledger, and then there's the Quantum ledger. Which Quant is kind of an over ledger which connects all of these different factions, okay, which is going to be connecting your Ethereum, which is going to be connecting all of these different things, okay, and each one of them plays their role in transferring money. Okay, first we have XLP, which is Ripple, okay, and right now they're enrolled in a case with the Security Exchange Commission to try to establish case law on how this whole global crypto hybrid utility token, bridge token for all these assets are going to play out with the stock market. Okay, so first you have XRP, which is going to be take care of all the bank-to-bank transactions, all the BB transactions, and then right underneath that, and they're on the board of they're on the committee for ISO, okay, and then right underneath them is XLM, and XLM, which is the Stellar network, they're the other person that's on this ISO board that's going to be in charge of all of these financial regulations for everybody else that wants to send money. We're talking money, everybody, which their migrants already on board. Everybody's already on board. So the Stellar network, like I said, XRP is going to be in charge of all the bank-to-bank transfers. XLM is going to be in charge of all the P2P, the peer-to-peer transactions. And you have XDC, the Zinfin network, which is going to be in charge of all of the micro payments, all the smaller transactions that happen on the day to day. And then you have the H bar, which Hedera Bedera, they're going to be in charge of all the smart contracts. Same thing with IOTA, they're involved in smart contracts too. But H bar, everything is going to be tokenized, and H bar is going to be involved in the real estate contracts, the smart contracts. So just like you have a mortgage now, let's say, your mortgage is going to be tokenized. So where this token is now going to facilitate payments, auto payments on these tokens, to where HBAR is in charge of that. So every single one of these ledgers have their own role to play in transferring money. Now, the significance of this, I don't know if you guys know what sanctions do. I don't know if you guys know what the petrodollar does. But right now, the dollar is an intermediary. A lot of people that facilitate trade in the world have to trade into the dollar first, and that's part of the reason why this takes so long and why it's so hard for a lot of these the BRICS nations, the BRICS countries are having a hard time with their infrastructure plans on this internationalism, like the Belt and Road Initiative, is because they have to transfer into the dollar first before they can do a lot of these moves. A lot of times it takes time. So they're trying to bypass this and come up with their own bridge token through the ledgers. So in order to do transactions now, instead of taking days, they're saying, look, we can do these transactions instantly now over these ledgers. So instead of transferring your yen into dollars first before you can go to, instead of taking your yen and go straight to Saudi Arabia to go and buy fuel, instead of going to these places to do all these things, instead of switching into the dollar first, they're finding another utility token, which are the utility tokens on these 6 ledgers, in order to facilitate these trades, which will completely bypass sanctions. It's going to completely bypass the petrodollar. Okay, so instead of transferring into the dollar first, now people are going to be transferring into the XRP token for bank-to-bank transfers. Okay, people are going to be trading into the XM for, so instead of going from the euro to yen, going to be going from the euro to these ledgers, and then in this work, they're going to, cool. One sec. So they're going to be facilitating all of these trades now. So, hold on a sec, guys. You got it? Okay. So, where was I? Bypassing the petrodollar, bypassing sanctions. Okay, so how is this going to roll out? Okay, so they're rolling this all out, this whole token system, because a lot of people are saying, well, not me. I'm not getting on the digital dollar, all cash for me. That's how I'm doing it. Can you pet her, make sure she's good? Not me. A lot of people are saying that they're completely against it, but here's the kicker, okay? I've been reading the white pages on this. That's why I've kind of been absent from all my streams. I've been reading the white papers on universal basic income, and this is how they're going to be rolling out these ledger, these tokenized utility bridge tokens. They're going to be rolling it out with universal basic income. So a lot of people can say that, oh, they're not going to be a stimulus every single month to pay your bills. Hey, look, we're sorry about inflation. Here's a little bit, here's your tokens. You can pay your bills with it. That's going to be the first step into grooming people into this whole technocratic tracked and traced digital society. They're rolling it out with universal basic income. On white papers, if you go to ubi.org and you read their white papers on it, it's going to say they're rolling, the annual output is going to be in a form of coinage. And they use like a tokenage. They're saying it's not going to be, it's going to be in the form of coinage, which is very, very specific verbiage on how they're going to do that, which leads me to believe that's how they're going to roll this out to the public. The bank-to-bank transactions are going to be starting in November. All the banks are going to be rolling this out. The EU just passed regulations, the MiCA regulations, to kickstart all of this. They just passed these regulations yesterday for the European Union to do it. And if you guys don't think that that all these ledgers are involved in it, and you guys don't know who SWIFT is, look it up. IOTA, which is one of these ledgers, is getting funded by the European Union in order to facilitate all this, because I'm sure you guys know the central banks are the ones, or the United Nations sends funding to the central banks in order to fund, facilitate a lot of these transactions. And the people that are behind this ISO regulations 20022 is the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements. They came together and wrote a white paper called Project Dunbar. And if you guys don't know what Project Dunbar is, go on my because I don't really get into the specifics of any of these bridge tokens. I was really trying to leave that vague for that reason, because I really didn't want to remove it. So Project Dunbar is a project done by the Bank of International Settlements to figure out which ledgers that they were going to be using for this whole thing to go down. And they said that if you look on page 7 of the BIS's most recent white paper that came out in March of this year, it says that they have used 2 prototype ledgers in order to facilitate this new either hardwire. Let me see here. Sorry guys, I'm gonna take this off of Wi-Fi. I'm just gonna keep talking. If it's messed up, just let me know. I'll try to fix it. So these white papers that the BIS came up with to facilitate this, the most important part of this whole thing, if you want to look up any keywords and try to do your own due diligence on this, look up CBDCs, cross-border digital currencies, look up high-value payment systems, HVPS, look up Project Dunbar, look up ISO 20022. Now, what the BIS has proposed is that through these prototype ledgers that they explain inside of these white papers, they say that that they are working with R3 and they are working with Quorum in order to facilitate these 2 prototype ledgers in order to roll out this. They're saying that basically the Fed, which the BIS is basically just the Fed and central bankers, which is like a few Fed members and which a lot of people know that in the Federal Reserve, a lot of these central banking, a lot of these central bankers are on the committees for the Federal Reserve, so it's almost kind of one and the same. Even though it sounds like, oh, the Fed and central banks, they're kind of like mixed together. So they say that they're using the R3 program, and they're using the Quorum protocol in order to facilitate this. And Quorum is backed by J.P. Morgan. They're backed by all of these big banksters. And then R3, if you look at R3, which is Ripple, who's involved in this SEC case, which I'll explain here in a minute, R3 is the main shareholder of Ripple is SBI Holdings, which SBI Holdings, 51% shareholder of SBI Holdings is Edmund Rothschild. If you look up who is behind all of these ledgers, it's Edmund Rothschild, it's J.P. Morgan, it's a lot of the financial groups out of Singapore, which is subservient to China. That's where all this is rolling out to. 2-year-old info so far. I know. I'm trying to get everybody up to date on this. I know it's a little bit old and it's a little bit played out. Well, so this is how they're facilitating it through these ledgers. Now, news is coming out every single day, and this is stuff that nobody's really talking about. A lot of it really kind of is old news. This white paper came out in March. That's kind of the most recent thing. Now, BRICS nation, how do they get involved in this whole thing? Now, BRICS is made up of Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And BRICS actually just yesterday introduced Malaysia into BRICS. So BRICS is expanding. And a lot of people don't know that Iran... All right, so that's BRICS. Now, the Belt and Road Initiative is supposed to be separate from BRICS, but it's the BRICS countries that are going to be doing this Belt and Road Initiative. Now, what is the Belt and Road Initiative? It's the largest infrastructure plan in history between Russia, Iran, Israel, China, in building a, we've seen what's going on in the South China Sea with them militarizing the sea and taking over trade routes. That goes into all of this. These cross-border digital currencies bleed into all of this, and this SEC case bleeds into all of this. Now, this SEC case is very important because if this SEC case... All right, now that you know what the ledgers are, this SEC case that is going on right now is between Ripple and it's between the Security Exchange Commission, which is who's in charge with getting a security license, okay? And they're trying to tell Ripple, look, you're saying that you're just another coin, but you're not. Your coin also is, people conflate your coin with the ledger technology. So technically, if people invest in your coin, technically they're investing in your company, which means that you're a security, you're not a currency. And they're trying to say, no, the coin just facilitates trades on this ledger. So it's not a stock. People are actually buying into the coin. What the value on the coin goes up and down is based on volume, okay, which is based on market cap, it's based on whatever else. But the most important part about this case is that if this does go through and they say, okay, you're fine, You guys are allowed to IPO on the stock market like Coinbase, slap on the wrist, go ahead with your cross-border digital currencies. They're going to roll over everything from the stock market over into these bridge currencies, which means the entire stock market is not going to be settling in 2 to 3 days now. It's going to be settling instantaneous. High value payment systems with cross-border digital currencies, okay? Which means that we are going to be rolled over on a ledger system that is going to be subservient to these exact same big banksters, these exact same financial holding companies that started the Federal Reserve, got the private Federal Reserve in 1913, took us off the gold standard in 1970, okay, started the EU, okay, a lot of these think tanks are the same people that started the EU, the same people that started NATO, that's been drawing up this whole thing. It's all connected together. And now these same people that got us into a bunch of ruckus that are saying, look, we need to rethink CBDCs because of the Ukraine-Russia conflict. The same people that started NATO are the same people that started the EU, are the same people that started the Federal Reserve in 1913, are the same Nixon guys that got us off the gold standard in the 1970s, are the same guys that printed a bunch of funny money, bought all the gold, are the same guys that are behind these ledgers, are the same guys that are putting these ledgers back on the gold standard, are the same guys that are trying to say, look, okay, the fact that your global, or the fact that the United States interest is higher than it can ever pay is a myth. This is what they're trying to say in the Universal Basic Income white papers. They're trying to say that this is all just a giant myth. That no, the debt doesn't outweigh how much America can pass, and they'll try to say that, oh no, we're fine, and that's only because they say that our congressmen who we elect have raised the bar for how much they're willing to borrow. So now they're trying to say, well, they've said that so really there's a lending crisis that has gone on that has gotten us into this situation. That is the real 21st century crisis, is the lending crisis. In 1900, 100 years ago, we were maybe a few $1 million in debt. We got off the gold after every single war, multi-billions, until now we're writing, the CARES Act was a couple $1 trillion. We have all of these spending bills that are completely out of control, completely crashing the dollar. They've created this chaos, and now they're coming through with order out of this chaos, order ab chaos, in order to say, hey, look, don't you want Big Brother to help? Okay, don't you see that Bitcoin isn't liquid? Don't you guys see that there's no liquidity behind this and it's all speculation based? Are you guys done playing with crypto and losing a bunch of money? These same financial movers, the market movers that have crashed the crypto industry, are the exact same people facilitating this new hybrid ledger bridge currency. Okay, everybody knows at this point that the markets are manipulated. This isn't even speculation. Now, who is manipulating the market? Who's manipulating it? The market movers. The same people that are majority shareholders of everything. And who are the majority shareholders of everything? Everything. You look it up. It's Vanguard, it's BlackRock, it's JP Morgan. Which Vanguard and BlackRock are interchangeable. JP Morgan is just holds its finance through all of them. It's all through Warren Buffett. It's all of these same guys that are facilitating the fall of this. Now, I don't even know where to go with it. I mean, there's literally just, once again, I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not telling you to buy or sell anything based on what I'm talking about. The news just dropped that ISO allegedly got pushed back. But if you look into FedNow, who's facilitating all of this, they said that they want to go live day one. So I don't know if they're just telling people that these whole ISO regulations are just getting pushed back to 2025. That way nobody's prepared for it. And next thing you know, everything goes through the roof. XRP to the moon. And that's what all of these people are saying on all of these channels. Okay? You have all of these people that are coming in, and they're completely 100% behind this New World Order cryptocurrency, these hybrid ledger bridge tokens, because these are the same people that are heavily invested in all of these exact same technologies. So you're not going to find anybody talking bad about this whole situation, because they'll get a cease and desist order. If you look on the internet right now, there are people, and I'm not going to drop any names right now, but if you look up any of these people, XRP, you look up XDC, you look up XLM, look up who is ISO compliant, and then look up on YouTube and try to find people talking about this. These are complete fanboys for this whole New World Order to actually go down. Every single one of them. They're all heavily invested. They swear that they're saving the world. over this whole situation. They swear that this whole situation is going to get us away from all these issues that have basically been holding down that have been holding down the financial system, that this is the save-all. The same people that are presenting the system, the same people that crashed the last system, and these people that are heavily invested in it are trying to say that this is a good thing. Let me check the chat. See what's going on here. Alright, let's see here. Can't even check the chat. Alright. Anything else you guys want me to touch on? I don't know, just let me know in the chat. I'll try to tap into it. Because the news has been coming so fast for this whole thing, and a lot of people don't realize that that all of this health pass is all tapped into this exact same blockchain technology. I think it's SoPal or SoPass. That's another one of these blockchain technologies that's on the forefront of doing these digital IDs, these cross-border digital IDs. This goes with the cross-border digital payments. And here's the whole funny thing about it, is that a lot of people act like these hybrid tokens, get all your stuff off the wallets, get all your stuff off Binance, get all your stuff off Coinbase, because they could shut down the exchanges, and next thing you know, your money's gone. A lot of these, you really think that just because you put it on a Ledger, you put it on a Descent, you put it on a Trezor or whatever it is, that your money is now completely safe? It's on a hard wallet. Okay, what happens, because you have a 24-word code? What happens if you lose that wallet? What happens if you lose it? What happens? Anybody know? Say you can still get it. Don't worry. All you need is your 24-word code. You get a new one. You put in your 24-word code, and you're good. Which means that there's a server somewhere with everybody's money on it. There's a server somewhere. Your money isn't held in 24 words. That's not where your assets are being held. Your assets are being held on a blockchain, which means your assets are being held on a server somewhere. Which means if there is a server, there's a back door for that server. And a lot of people say, well, it can't be hacked. Blockchain can't be hacked. Ledger's offered $1 million to anybody that can hack into the system. Okay, so it's clearly not It's clearly not hackable. Descent said they would offer $1 million for anybody that could hack into their system, and nobody's come forth and claimed the money. Therefore, there is no backdoor. Now, you tell me this: put yourself in the mind of a hacker. Okay, if there was a backdoor, and you could possibly, if you were a hacker, find a backdoor into the blockchain to be able to get all the money off of these cold wallets, would you forego how to do that for $1 million? If all the world's GDP is going to be on these blockchains, on these hybrid ledger bridge currencies, do you think that it's worth it to let everybody know how to hack into it? Why? So they can fix their technology? Or do you think it would be more worth it to instill confidence in the system, and then right when everybody thinks that their money is all good and it hasn't been hacked, completely wipe the world from it? And this is what all these guys are talking about at Davos. While everybody was sitting here talking about the hyperinflation, the guys at Davos were saying, no, this is the cure-all. CBDCs are the way. But the only thing is that the scalability isn't right for Bitcoin. They're saying that the Ethereum network is too slow. It can't do all of these transactions per minute. But Ripple can do 1,500 TPS, and it could be scaled up to 1 million transactions per second, and all this and that. And if this goes into the whole going green, Green New Deal agenda. What did Elon Musk say? What did Elon Musk come out and say? Elon Musk said he's not accepting Bitcoin for any of this stuff until Bitcoin gets their act together and they start saving until they start saving the planet, because there's all these miners that it costs the amount of electric of a small country in order to roll these. So they're trying to bridge in this whole Green New Deal aspect in all of this, because Ripple and all these ledgers claim to be 1,000 times more green than your standard Coinbase or your standard Ethereum. So they're claiming to be green, okay, which this is going to go into the carbon tax, okay? As soon as everybody gets on these ledgers, mark my words, they're going to be coming through with a carbon tax to say, okay, if all of your assets are tokenized now, if your mortgage is tokenized, if your car note is tokenized, they know if your electric is tokenized, they know exactly how much carbon you're using. They know exactly how much carbon you're using. And they could say, okay, if you use this much, we'll incentivize you to use less. which that's code for if you use too much, will cause a rolling blackout the same way they do in California. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but in California, they will shut off people's power at a moment's notice for absolutely no reason because they use too much power. They use their allotted resources. Okay? They've been rolling out this whole Green New Deal in California for a while now. Okay? They've been beta testing this for a while. And this goes back to this whole Elon Musk coming out and saying, okay, I'm not, you guys have to be more green for all this. This is going to go back into tokens. Once everybody's tokenized, everybody's going to get carbon tax, which means that nobody can get ahead. That goes back to the whole you will own nothing and be happy. Okay, this goes back into BlackRock buying up all this real estate. The first time in history, all of these institutional investors are coming up and buying homes at an alarming rate. Okay, buying up whole neighborhoods, and they're paying 20 to 50% over market, which is completely changing the entire landscape for how much real estate is worth in different places. Okay, which once you change the assessed value of a house, now you're able to change how much somebody gets taxed for it. So who cares if your house is worth $1 million if nobody's going to buy it, and now you're getting taxed on a house that's worth $1 million that you're like, oh, I'm not even planning on selling this house. Why are you making my assessed value go up? Well, everybody in the neighborhood's price of their house has gone up because this is what the houses are worth. So you have all these institutional investors going through, and it's going to, it all kind of feeds back into each other. Every single bit of it connects. Every single bit of it connects. And I don't know, I just kind of wanted to tap on here really quick and kind of touch base. And I'm going to be, if you guys want, I mean, I'm going to leave this up for a little while. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, but for the most part, I'm going to be taking it down. I do not want to get a cease and desist order for all this. I do not want to end up on the wrong side of all these ledgers, because these are the most powerful people in the world. The most powerful people in the world. Who are these people are connected to are the most powerful people in the world. Okay, and inside the truth community, there are people that end up missing for exposing things like that. Rest in peace, Matthew North. Perfect example. People end up dead, missing, over exposing the wrong thing. Okay, so like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, but I'm going to be pulling this, and I'm going to be getting on here, every so often to beat this down, beat this dead horse into the ground. Because this is something nobody's talking about. And this UBI, Universal Basic Income, feeds right back into this whole welfare crisis that we're about to be into. The United States is going to be a welfare state. It's going to be a welfare state. They are trying to actively push it. We're involved in a culture war right now that is happening. This goes back into Roe versus Wade. What happens? We now live in a culture over the last 20 years. We live in a rap music, rock star lifestyle culture where everyone is getting high, having sex, being unsafe, being unprotected, having kids, and having abortions at an alarming rate. So people can turn over Roe versus Wade. Okay, and while everybody's arguing over that, what's going to happen? People are still going to be having babies at an alarming rate. The only difference is that now they're not going to be having an abortion. People aren't going to be going over state. People are just going to be having these kids. They're being incentivized to have kids already. People are just going to be having these kids being raised in these broken homes, going to be on complete subsidized income from the state, and it's going to lead back into this whole universal basic income. We're sorry that you guys can't, because every single dollar that everything goes up, you're going to have more people that are going to saying, look, we need more help from the government. Everybody that's on food stamps is saying, look, I can't support myself. They're going back. People are reviewing their case, the Department of Children and Families, and they're saying, okay, you guys get more, and that's going to lead back into the welfare state, which leads back more into being in debt, which leads back more into these more reason why we need these tokenized assets, so we can give everybody universal basic income. Look, the people want it. The people have spoken. They're so stressed out because of this hyperinflation. They need this money. Don't you want us to come in and step in and help? Problem, reaction, solution. They want everybody on universal basic income. This feeds onto this whole ledger system. It feeds into these bridge tokens. Don't you want to pay your bills? And then you're going to be, and this feeds into the metaverse. This is a whole other thing. This feeds into the metaverse because, and the NFTs that are coming out right now, which is huge. I've seen Eminem and Snoop Dogg put out a music video, that was you know those monkey NFTs. They're completely shilling for the blockchain with these monkey NFTs, trying to get people on board. And this is the NFTs and the metaverse. It might be a slow roll. The bank to bank transactions are going to be first. Okay, they're going to be first, probably until 2025. They're going to start making it more popular. They're going to roll out universal basic income right after that. And then right after that, they're going to be rolling out the metaverse. So you can waste all of your, your universal basic income in the metaverse. And you guys look into the metaverse. I thought this was some crazy myth, like this wasn't going down. You look into the metaverse. It's kind of like crappy, like Sims graphics a little bit. But you go on there, you can sit at like a social media place, at a cafe. You can mingle with people that are all tapped into the metaverse. You can go to the FIFA stadium and play FIFA, watch the game. You could go into art studios, buy NFTs. You could walk into Walmart, get what you need. It'll get dropped off to the door. I mean, you can walk over to different areas and play games. Like, they're integrating everything where people are going to be tapped in, like Ready Player One, where people aren't even going to want to use their home because the government's paying them not to. With this universal basic income, these bridge utility tokens, they're going to be staying home, tapped into the metaverse. The white papers are all out. The white papers for universal basic income, Project Dunbar, look up Project Dunbar. These regulations are going down starting November 15th, ISO 20022. It's the ball's already rolling. This SEC case, depending on what happens with this SEC case, is going to depend the time frame which America gets into this. They're just setting the case law, and a lot of people act like the SEC took Ripple to court. But they had to go to court in order to establish this. The only way case law gets established, the only way precedent gets established, is through the court system, is through case law. You got to go to court. You have to write down all the bylaws. That way, everything after that, if it goes against the standings of however the Ripple case turned out, then it gets struck down. That's how that works. So the SEC didn't take Ripple to court. The Ripple went to court with the SEC to establish this. You have all these guys in Ripple that were SEC 20-year long board members. You have all these people that are on the SEC board that are tied with Ripple, and people think that the SEC is against the Fed. People think that the SEC is against, if Ripple is with the Fed and with the BIS, then tell me, so they're gonna say that the SEC is against the Fed, the SEC is against the central banks, the SEC is against the United Nations. I mean, granted, this is going to be huge for how sanctions are involved, and I'm really hoping that there are some guys behind the scenes saying, "Look, we're not getting rid of the petrodollar. We're not getting rid of, sanctions. Okay, we're gonna have to write this in somehow." But then all that's going to be is somebody's going to be able to change their IP address and not make it look like they're from Russia, not make it look like they're from God knows where, and then next thing you know, they're not going to get sanctioned because all they're arguing is that, look, as long as it's KYC, as long as it's know your customer, there's no fraud, there's no money laundering, there's no funding for any sort of felonious activities. Therefore, what's the big deal? And of course, these people aren't bringing up sanctions. They're not bringing up the petrodollar. They're not bringing up the dollar's the only thing. Is say what you want about America, say what you want about the federal institutions, say what you want about elected officials, but at the end of the day, the dollar is what stands in the way of international conglomerate globalism, internationalism. That is the only thing, and it's honestly not even standing in their way. It's more of a thorn in their side than anything. Okay, right now the dollar is the bridge asset between getting oil and not getting oil. You got to change the dollar first. If we get rid of the petrodollar and move on to these utility tokens, the dollar is, what's the point of holding the dollar? What's the point of all of this money that got printed? All this funny money that got printed, nobody will want to hold it because what's the point? Why wouldn't I just hold on to these bridge tokens? Why wouldn't I hold on to an XRP or an XLM if that's the case? Why am I holding on to the dollar if I don't need dollar to buy oil anymore? If I don't need a dollar to be able to get my transaction from here to there. And the only way you can get dollars is if you're good with the U.S., and if you're not good with the U.S., and then you have money laundering. You have people putting money in other people's names. That way they can get it over the border. That way they can facilitate trade. Okay? They don't want this. They want the world's GDP to be just fine without the U.S. Okay? We already got soon as the Federal Reserve was privatized, that was the first thing. We got rid of all the gold out of Fort Knox. We got off the gold standard in the 70s. Next thing you know, we're printing a bunch of funny money. Everything now, all these privatized institutions are completely manipulating the gold market, manipulating the silver market. They own all the gold. Okay, they're manipulating the stock market. They own all the assets. Okay, and they're trying to make the point that the dollar isn't liquid. Look how much money the dollar owes everybody. The dollar's not liquid. They want instant liquidity. That's what all these bridge tokens are about. Okay, this goes back to decentralized finance. This goes back to dApps. This goes back to Web3. This goes back to all of it. Okay, they're trying to say that, look, we don't want banks anymore. Okay, they're trying to streamline everything. Be your own bank. Bitcoin was just the beta test in all of this going on. These bridge ledgers, these utility tokens is what they're moving into. These 6 ledgers, guys. These 6 ledgers. That's all it is. Look it up, and I'm going to beat it like a dead horse over and over again. I think that's it. I really didn't want to make it too long. If you guys have any questions, put it in the chat. I guess now I'll try to touch on it. I mean, this is the future they're trying to create for everybody, and they are talking about certain things inside of Davos. Like, I was tapping into just like be random interviews with like random and the mayor of New York. Okay, the new mayor that just replaced the last guy is up here in Davos saying the world's not going to wait for the U.S. to catch up. This guy that's from Brooklyn is in there saying he's not going to. That's not the position of an American. Okay, that's the position of an internationalist. Okay, a communitarian. Okay, if he was truly on America's side, he would say something along the lines of, well, America's not just going to jump headfirst into something. America has to take their time on things. We got to, make sure that everything is going to be facilitated properly. Even if the world's ready, that doesn't mean America's just going to jump in. America sets standards. You know what I mean? Not this guy saying the world's not going to wait for the U.S. So in watching all this on these things, there are talks of other people that are saying things like thing kicks off in November. Supposed to be November 15th for the European Union, which the EU was created by the same people that created NATO, by the same people that created these think tanks, the same people, these trilateral, it's all the same people that are in the Fed, the same people, but yes, it's supposed to be November 15th is when it's supposed to be rolling out. But here's the thing about these ledgers. So what? Half the world's GDP are going to be on these cross-border digital currencies. So the whole world is going to, even if the whole world is able to facilitate trade outside the dollar, and it's just the U.S. that's sticking to the system, who cares? If the whole world doesn't even have to go by the dollar, who cares if America doesn't jump in? They found almost like a check, like in chess. It's like a check position right now that America's in. Because it's going to completely bypass the dollar is all that it's going to do. And everybody's trying to act like cross-border currencies is the future. But the dollar is a geopolitical position in the world. It's more than just a currency. So like I was saying, at Davos, whenever they were talking about the issues involving this, one of the things that I heard them talking about was, look, people like, and this could just be controlled opposition, them just bringing up a point, just like a talking point, just to say that they did. I don't know if this is something they're actively looking at, because we know they're, the point, it's in the white papers, but they're actively, I did hear them mention something, look, what happens if the whole grid goes down? People want to have at least some sort of anonymity. People want to have some sort of liquid asset to be able to pull it off. So, but the whole thing about it is they're not getting rid of currencies. And this is the whole thing that is such a misnomer, is that we're not going from all these different currencies just to all digital. That's not how it's going to happen at first. There's a process to it. First, you're going to have the bridge utility tokens, okay, where you're going to go from one currency to the other, okay? And inflation isn't just happening with the U.S. dollar, okay? Every single currency is hyperinflated, okay? The central banks own all of the currency. So this isn't just a plan. This is a global plan to try to have hyperinflation everywhere, problem, reaction, solution. So they brought up talks about having some sort of actual liquid currency, but who knows if that's like actively what they're going to be pursuing. I mean, eventually they're trying to get everybody on the blockchain. They want, I mean, and this is stuff Bill Cooper was talking about. If you shout out Bill Cooper, if you guys don't know who he is, rest in peace, Bill Cooper. They went after him for this. Bill Cooper was a Navyman, and he stumbled onto something because he was a Freemason, and back in the day, you just check a box if you're a Mason, and they move you up the list. So he got moved up the list and found out that everything was going to be tokenized. He was calling this out and calling Alex Jones out and calling out all the disinfo back in the day, and he was saying that your ID is going to be on these tokens. Everything about you is going to be on these tokens. It's going to be tokenized. He was calling this out back in the 90s. Okay, so back in the 80s. I mean, Bill Cooper, man. So, and eventually it's going to be cash free. They're beta testing cash free everywhere else just to go to the digital, just to see how everybody's going to react to it. You go to any football stadium in the country, you go to any baseball stadium in America, it's all cash free. They started it in Tampa in 2019 at Tropicana Stadium, and since then, since COVID, which go figure, they started cash free right before it, and then since COVID, every single stadium is rolled out. And you go back to some of these stadiums that don't even have any other health protocols, and they'll tell you, yeah, we still just do this. It's just easier now. So never let a good crisis go to waste, people. This is what they're doing. They open the Overton window. Okay, they keep the Overton window open it further, and then next thing you know, well, this is the new normal. This is the new normal now. You get everybody to react out of fear and give up their sovereignty. And this is exactly what they're trying to do. And this is exactly, unfortunately, and this is something, back to Bill Cooper, this is something Bill Cooper was talking about, and at first it didn't really click to me what he was talking about. But our founding fathers, all of them, we're all in on this whole global internationalist thing, unfortunately. The whole reason why America was created and freedom was created, the idea of freedom was created, was to depeg all of the thrones and the old patriarchies that ruled the world in opposition to this new world order. To have everybody fleeing from the patriarchy over to this place that's free. They built up this place that's free to be able to build up the world and internationalize the world, and now these same factions are trying to crumble it. Okay, we got onto the cash system a couple hundred years ago. That's it. A couple hundred years ago, we got onto the cash system off of the ledger system. Go figure. That's like a dog whistle to the new cold storage ledger. Used to be on the ledger system where everything would be on these tally ledgers. You'd get tally sticks. You'd get these ledgers. Every debt you made, every dollar you made, every tax you paid was on these ledgers. And because of the war debt, we got off the ledger system and went to the cash system. Now, what does that sound like? What is that familiar to? The same war debt that we are so inflated to right now that they're claiming to want to get us off of the cash system back on to the ledger system. Came full circle. Came full circle. They wanted to get everybody off the ledger system, create this idea of cash, create this idea of freedom, and just to get us back on the ledger system. And our forefathers knew it. Our forefathers gave us the blueprint. They said, look, here is ultimate freedom. The Constitution was written in a very, very specific, strategic way. Okay? Here's your freedom. This is your sovereignty, if you're willing to keep it. If you're willing to protect it. If you're not going to be so filled with, I want this, and I expect that, and feed me, and you're not going to be so subservient to the system. Here's your sovereignty. What are you willing to do with it? And once we're back off that sovereignty, this is when the United Nations comes in, full-fledged. Okay, the United Nations are already the ones that send funding to all of these central banks through the BIS, through the IMF, that fund it for all of these global transactions. These are the same people that are bringing about these utility tokens. These 6 utility tokens, ISO 20022. These are the global regulations changing in November 15th, and they're going to be changing worldwide, allegedly, third quarter of next year. This is just bank-to-bank transactions. Within the next 5 years, everything is going to be tokenized. Everything is going to be on these utility assets. So, that's it. It's about 45 minutes in. I'm going to leave this post up for a little bit. It's getting dark. Much love, you guys. I'm going to leave this up for a little bit. So, like, subscribe, tell your friends. All right, guys. Till next time. I'm going to come back on tomorrow. So, see you.